Trap Express.
Well, after 8 years, at least 8 years, I have finally found and purchased another 430. I went to an auction earlier this past week, and there were two 430s at the auction. I bought one, and somebody else bought the other. The other one was a little bit newer than this. I'll get into specifics here in a little bit. But it did not have a deck, but it did have a 48-inch mechanical tiller. So it had a rear 2,000 RPM PTO and a 3-point, and then the tiller. That one sold for $4,000. It went to another local collector. He was bidding on the phone, and I was bidding in person. He bids against me a lot. I actually don't know him all that well, but I knew who it was. And then this one right here, I paid $2,900 for it. I'll let you in the comments tell me if that's a good deal or bad deal. It was one of those things that I just happened to want a 430. So I hadn't had a 430 in a while, and I figured it was time to have one, at least to play around with a little bit, see what I want to do with it. I have no idea what I want to do with this yet. I got to get it cleaned up, figure out what I have. But we can at least walk around to tell you what I do have. So 430 on the outset, I do have the side panels, and the side panels are in decent condition. Probably one of the most important things when you're looking at a 430, it has a decent grill on it, which I'm kind of excited about. These grills have gotten prohibitively expensive to replace, and also the hood. It has a good hood on it. All of the hinges are intact and everything. So overall, pretty happy with the purchase as it relates to the hood, and no real damage or anything on the bosses that hold the hood on. Just general pretty happy there. It does not have a muffler, which is a pretty common 430 problem. Most 430s, the muffler vibrates and cracks. My guess is that one vibrated and cracked until it just flat fell off. And if you can't hear that at the intro of the video, that is why it sounds kind of funny. The other one had dented side panels. The grill was mashed in. The front bumper was screwed up. The hood was good on that one. The deck on this thing sounds like utter garbage. I haven't looked at it yet, but it sounds like the deck gear shaft is shot or the front pulley is shot. We won't know until we get in there. Got the suspension seat, but it's not a flip style, but it is a suspension seat, but it's pretty much roached at this point. My fat butt sits down on it, and it just kind of sits down, and there's no suspension left. Got this Hacked-On weed sprayer. In fact, kind of smelled like Roundup earlier. Yep, still does. So that'll find a happy home somewhere, not with me. So got that, and then the tires, they got some nice weather cracking to them. The rear end is leaking. The engine's leaking in several places. I don't know if you can really see it or pick it up on video, but you can see how much grime's on the engine. I'm hoping that might just be a valve cover issue. Like I said, I don't know what I'm going to do with this machine yet. I kind of bought it just to have it, play with it a little bit. I figured we could look over it some. Now, one really thing that I don't think anybody was paying attention to at the auction, and because it doesn't seem like it would have one, because it makes sense that it has two PTO switches up there, but one of them is wired into, and it even says on the dash sprayer. Well, when you happen to look back here, sorry, the light's so poor, but what do you see right there? There's a nice 2,000 RPM PTO gearbox. Also, you have the mounts for a 3-point. There's no mounts for the 3-point. The rock shaft isn't there, but the lower mounts, and my guess is that was probably for a bagger system that was on sale at the same auction, and I'm not going to mess around with one of those MCS. It wasn't a hydraulic dump bagger system, but I'm not going to mess around with one of those MCS baggers. I played around with one a couple years ago, and oh boy, that was a mess. So, overall, decent unit. I think we'll get it cleaned up and we'll see how many videos we can make over it. Like I said, the deck sounds like absolute trash. I turned the PTO on and it sounded like there was a bunch of angry cats under there. Obviously, per usual, we have the various hacked systems on the deck caster wheels. Let's see here what we can see. Well, nothing too scary there. But now let's see the real scary part. See how loose. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you can see it. No? Normally that pulley is really loose. We'll dig into it a little bit and see what might be the problem to make the deck sound so bad. But the tensioner's there. I mean, the deck runs. It just sounds, like I said, like a bunch of angry cats. So, should be a fun little project. We're not going to get to it right away. But stay tuned because we'll get it. I'll at least get it pressure washed in the next week, get it cleaned up, get the sprayer system off of here. Probably what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pull because I'll have to pull the fender pan and stuff. I'll pull the PTO off and put it on a shelf for future use, for future use of a future project. So, and we'll kind of go from there. But just wanted to give you a short introduction to this newest edition. Like I said, it's probably not going to stay around long. I just wanted to play around with the 430 because it had been several years. I almost forgot. So, cool story. Whoever set up the auction didn't know what they were looking at. And I got the front brackets for the 430. And it was just in a line of junk, and the auctioneer literally sold them because it was the auctioneer that was doing it. I don't think it's an auctioneer I normally go to, but the auctioneers doing it were not as experienced as some of the other auctioneers in terms of some of the John Deere stuff. But these nice brackets, they sold to me, the frame extension, the PTO extension, and then that drive shaft just came with it. I picked up for a grand total of $2.50. So I think that really helps out quite a bit. And then there's the side panels. And then we have this little gem. You tell me in the comments, do you want to see me mess around with this little Grasshopper? It's a 721D. I know absolutely zero. Let me turn my headlamp off here. I know absolutely zero about Grasshoppers. The only reason I bought it is because it was $50. And it's got a Kubota diesel engine in it. I think it's 722. Yeah. D722E Kubota diesel engine. It does not turn over, but that's because the key, they sold it as non-running. Obviously, if you could buy a running one for $50, that would just be close to a miracle. And I'd probably just want to go buy a lottery ticket. But they sold it as non-running. It was at the end of the auction. I just don't think anybody was paying attention. Just in my opinion, dirt cheap for a Kubota diesel. And the key that came with it the ignition does not turn. So I doubled my investment, or almost doubled my investment, and spent $43 on a knockoff ignition switch that's hopefully be here sometime next week. I know that the engine turns over because I hooked a battery up to it and shorted across the starter solenoid, and the engine will turn over. It sounds like all three cylinders have compression because you can hear the joot, 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 joot. So, other than that, I don't know anything about Grasshoppers. It needs, tires up front and everything. I mean, it needs some work. It would not be spray it off, get it running, and sell it. You're gonna have to do a few things to it. So I don't even know how big the deck is, but we'll eventually get there. But I'll if you want to see this project on the YouTube channel, drop a comment down below. It's one of those things that I don't know anything about them, so I might just be flying by the seat of my pants. But anyway, that's about it. we'll kind of go from there. Thanks for watching.